Good day, and welcome to another episode of Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. And let's get right to it. So, I was thinking about all this. Okay. I was thinking about the Celtics and the Lakers. Okay, and I was thinking about this. Except for Houston in 1981 and 1986, every team in the West every team that got out of the West ran into the Los Angeles Lakers every time. 1980, it was Seattle. 1982, San Antonio fell. 1983, San Antonio again. 1984, Phoenix. 1985, Denver. 1987, Seattle. 1988, Dallas. 1989, Phoenix. So Dallas, Phoenix, San Antonio, Denver. All failed. Okay. Yeah. And I was thinking about this as well. The Milwaukee Bucks, okay. They were talking about best teams of the 80's. And they were talking about and Kenny Smith mentioned the Milwaukee Bucks, okay. And the Bucks were one of the best teams of the 1980's, but it's unfortunate for them that they kept running into two teams in the Eastern Conference, Boston and Philly. Okay, it's just a shame that they ran into Boston and Philly almost every single year in the 80's, except for 1989 when they were swept by Detroit in the second round. Okay, so it's unfortunate that Milwaukee ran into Philadelphia in 1980, 81, 83, 1984, 85, 86, 87, except for 1988 and 89. Yeah. I think 88 was the only time that they didn't run into Philly or Boston. Okay. But yeah, for a good chunk of that decade, it was either Philly or Boston. And I remember when they lost to the Sixers in 5 games in 1983. Their fans were like, it's just unfortunate that you have to run into a Philadelphia or a Boston every year. And ironically, Boston got swept by Milwaukee that year in the second round, believe it or not. That's the only time Larry Bird was swept in his career in the playoffs. Now, you may say, what about 1989 when he got swept in the first round by Detroit? Okay. Larry Bird only played in like 6 games the whole year. So he missed a whole year. So Bird missed pretty much the entire year, that whole year. So so the Milwaukee Bucks, who kept running into the Sixers or Celtics, every team in the West that tried to go through the LA Lakers failed, unless you're the Houston Rockets. And so, see it in the comments. Well, first, before I get into that, when Kenny Smith mentioned the Milwaukee Bucks, Kenny Smith said, what NBA player today would be Sidney Moncrief? Okay. And Kenny Smith said, Sidney Moncrief to him was a better version of DeMar DeRozan. Yeah. The DeMar DeRozan of the 1980s. Okay. So he compared Sidney Moncrief to DeMar DeRozan, said he was a better version of DeMar DeRozan, though. So, if I had to say who would be Bob Lanier, I would say Bob Lanier would be Dikembe Mutombo. That's what I say. Bob Lanier would be Dikembe Mutombo, because Mutombo was primarily a rim protector. Okay. For the majority of Dikembe Mutombo's career, he was a rim protector. He could score. Dikembe Mutombo could score, but he was known a lot more for his defense. Okay. So he was more of a rim protector. So I'll say Bob Lanier would be Dikembe Mutombo. Though some people are probably going to disagree with that. That's fine. I just took a guess. Okay. And so I saw in the comments, someone said, as far as rivalry goes, I think they said Sun Sonics. Oh yeah, I do remember the 1993 Western Conference Finals when it was Suns and Sonics. Yeah. That was short lived. That was a one series rivalry. Okay. And the series went back and forth. And of course, in Game 7, Charles Barkley had 44 and 24. Okay. Yeah, Charles Barkley had 44 and 24. No. Suns won the game 123-110. Ironically, Richard Dumas, who the rookie who had played pretty well that whole year. People don't know this, but Paul Westphal benched Richard Dumas the entire Game 7. And Tom Chambers got to start in Game 7. So Tom Chambers got to start against his former team. And Richard Dumas was benched that whole 7th game. But when the NBA Finals came, Dumas was back starting. Okay. So and just a little note on Richard Dumas, the 93 postseason. Magic Johnson and Mike Fratello kept pointing this out. Marv, Mike, and Magic, that whole championship series against Chicago, they kept pointing this out. They kept pointing out the fact that Richard Dumas will get off to excellent starts, okay? But he wouldn't see much action in the second half. And that was the case in Game 3, triple overtime game, in Game 4, okay? And Magic pointed this out during the broadcast a couple of moments in the Game 4. He said, well, it's going to be interesting to see if Richard Dumas continues to gets the playing time in the fourth quarter, since he's playing so well. And so there was a sequence in Game 4 where Richard Dumas went for a steal. Okay. He went for an attempted steal on Michael Jordan. And Richard Dumas picked up a foul. And then Mike Fratello gave us clarity on why Richard Dumas wasn't playing much in late in the game. And Mike Fratello said that's one of the reasons why Richard Dumas is not on the floor at the end of games recently, because he gambles a lot defensively and he breaks down the team defense. He goes for the steal, he doesn't get it, leads to 2 free throws from Michael Jordan. So, no, that's why. No, Richard Dumas liked to gamble a lot defensively, and that's something Magic noticed. That's something Mike Fratello noticed. And that's something that Paul Westphal noticed as well. So, can't remember. Bulls Heat, yeah. Bulls Heat. Yeah, Bulls Heat was, the Bulls Heat had intense but short-lived rivalry, and it was primarily born out of the 1996 NBA playoffs, the first round, where the Miami Heat felt that the Chicago Bulls embarrassed the Miami Heat, and the Bulls won this series pretty much easily, going away. And if you also remember, if you think Dennis Rodman was good at getting under people's skin when he was in Detroit and San Antonio, let me just say this, okay? I love Alonzo Mourning, okay? But Dennis Rodman got under his skin so easily. Dennis Rodman just got under Alonzo Mourning's skin so easily. And you saw it during Game 3 of the 96 playoffs. That's who Rodman is, though, man. Rodman got Alonzo Mourning out of his game, man. Rodman got Alonzo Mourning out of his game, man. And he gave a cheap shot to Dan Arley. I remember. And he gave a cheap shot to Dan Arley in the 1997 series. And he got into a couple of fights with Alonzo Mourning in the 97 series. And I remember one time Rodman was running the fast break, and he got the ball and he laid it up. He was fouled, and then he gave John Crotty sort of like an elbow or something. And John Crotty took the ball and it's like, son of a, threw the ball at him. and I remember Judd Bushler had the guy Rodman away. That's who Dennis Rodman is, man. That's who Dennis Rodman is. Oh man. I think I loved Chicago Rodman better than I did Detroit Rodman, because Rodman would effectively get you out of your game. Chicago Rodman would get you out of your game. He was in your head. Chicago Rodman would get into your head, and he definitely got into Alonzo Mourning's head. Okay, so there was a short-lived rivalry between Portland and Utah. That was a short-lived rivalry. Met in the playoffs, 1999 and 2000. Portland won both times. Jazz and Spurs met in 1994 and 1998, I believe. And they also ran into the Jazz in 1996, I believe. Yeah. Ran into the Jazz in 1996. So yeah, of course I talked about Pacers Bulls, the previous video. I think that's about it. As far as the rivalries, trying to think of some Western Conference rivalries. I know there was Lakers San Antonio. But I would say the Lakers' primary rival had to be the Houston Rockets, okay? Because virtually every team in the West was a different team who ran into the Lakers each year. So I would say their primary rival was the Houston Rockets. Because yeah. I say hey that. Yeah. I say hey that. They met in 81, 86. Then they met again in 1990 and 1991. And they didn't meet again in the first round until 1999, the lockout season. So yeah. So yeah, I would say the Houston Rockets were the Lakers' primary rival in the 80s. Maybe, but no, who knows? Yeah. Um, and to a lesser degree, the Dallas Mavericks Lakers in the 80's. Um, let's see. I was just thinking about all this too. Um, the 70's had championship parity. No, there was no team who won back-to-back championships. I would say the Bullets, who won the championship in '78, were the most successful team of that decade, along with the early '70's Knicks. Okay. 1970, 72, 73, the Knicks went to the NBA Finals. But the Bullets during the decade of the '70's went four: 1971, 1975, 1978, and 1979. Okay. So even though it was championship parity in the '70's, I would say the Washington Bullets were probably more successful as far as getting to the finals, because they got to the finals four times in the decade. Okay. So they won one. They only won one. Should have won in 1975 when they got swept by Rick Barry and the Golden State Warriors. But they got to the finals four times. They got swept by Milwaukee in 1971. Ironically, got swept by Golden State in '75. And won in 7 against Seattle. Went back to the next year, then Seattle won in 5. So, yeah. All right. That's it. And that's all. But throwing it back with Sean Farrell. I am Sean Farrell. God bless you all. And I am out of here. Peace.